And we're joined by Andy Sandhu, the moderator for the Okanagan Sikh temple. Prime Minister of Canada said publicly that there is credible evidence that the Indian government was behind the murder of a Sikh Canadian citizen outside a temple. This has to have been sort of rocked things inside a temple like this one, even though you tell me it's not a political place, but it must have really agitated people.
In a way, what happened, what I heard, what you heard, is a concern. And we've been born and raised in a dirty politics or politicians. If it's true, it's not good. But also I understand Mr. Modi having an election in 2024, and he wants to remain Prime Minister of India. Also, Mr. Trudeau is not doing so good in the polls either. He wants to be in power in a minority government right now. So I don't know how the Canadian people take this as a politics, but India sure, Indian people sure thinks this is a political stunt by the Indian government to have some sympathy from Hindu voters or Hindu nationalists, whatever that is, and to win the next election. So killing a Canadian citizen or anybody, in my opinion, is not a good thing, because everybody has their loved ones, and Mr. Nijjar was somebody's husband, somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's friend. So it's unfortunately that happened.
So this gentleman who was murdered a few months ago in Surrey, he was the head of a temple and also a well-known agitator in favor of a separate Khalistan within India. But you're telling me that's not typical. Like at this temple, for instance, politics doesn't really belong. So it was unusual, you would say, for someone to head a temple and be so public in their preference for a separate Khalistan in India?
I would take two things separately. The being head of the temple and being Khalistani or extremism is two different things. They have their own political agenda they call Khalistan. They harbor their own kind of violence. They have the groups. There's a federation of this, there's a Khalsa force, there's a few little, they have their own kind of thing. Normal public, it doesn't bother me, doesn't bother my congregation. Whatever they were doing, they did their own doings.
Regardless of all that, it has to be unsettling that we have this situation now where we have an Indian diplomat that gets thrown out of Canada, and then India does the same, and we have strained relations now between India and Canada. That must be somewhat unsettling for people who are here from India?
Correct, because we all go travel back, and we need visa to go back to India. My personal views is 2018, when Mr. Trudeau went to India, that visit didn't go very well. And Mr. Modi and Trudeau is not getting along, I think, many years. Personally, I believe, like I said earlier, is 2024 election coming up, and we have election coming up in our country. I think it's all political gain for both prime ministers.
Do you think Trudeau made a mistake by being so public about this?
I don't know. I don't have that information because he's the prime minister. He has the agencies who give him briefing.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you happy to see him publicly, pointing a finger at India, or did that upset you?
No, it doesn't upset me. I mean, if they did that, I'm glad he did that. And I think he's transparent being about it. So if something that happens, and I'm glad he came up front.
A lot of things at play here, but does something like this, does it divide some of the families who use this temple? Does it heat up any divisions that exist at all?
No, it doesn't bother anybody because we grown up in this kind of political environment, and these things happen, and we got to live with it.
Right. Thanks for your time. Much appreciated.
No problem.
And thanks for watching Kelowna Now.
Thank you, Nick.